The 1960s didn't just revolutionize music and fashion, it completely transformed how Hollywood depicted World War II. While most people think the best war films came from the 40s or 90s, the swinging 60s actually produced the most brutal, controversial, and downright insane WW movies ever made. Did you know one film literally owned the world's 35th largest air force during production? These aren't your grandfather's patriotic propaganda flicks. They're gritty, morally complex masterpieces that asked uncomfortable questions about heroism, violence, and what it really takes to win a war. 15. The Longest Day, 1962. The most expensive black and white film ever made just happens to be about the bloodiest day in military history. Producer Darryl F. Zanuck mortgaged his house and spent $10 million, that's $85 million today, to recreate D-Day with obsessive accuracy. The cast reads like a who's who of Hollywood royalty. John Wayne, Sean Connery, Henry Fonda, and Richard Burton all sharing screen time in this 3-hour epic. What makes this film legendary isn't just the star power, it's the unprecedented access. The French military provided actual D-Day landing craft, and former German officers served as technical advisors, giving their enemies perspective for the first time. The film's commitment to authenticity was so intense that they shot on the actual Normandy beaches where thousands died 18 years earlier. Critics initially dismissed it as too long and too star-studded, but audiences made it the 4th highest-grossing film of 1962. The real kicker? Several actual D-Day veterans appear in the film, including Captain Philippe Kiefer, who led the only French commando unit on Juno Beach. Watching their faces during the landing sequences hits differently when you know they lived through hell to be there. 14. Von Ryan's Express, 1965. Frank Sinatra trading his tuxedo for army fatigue sounds like a publicity stunt. But this POW thriller became one of the chairman of the board's grittiest performances. Based on a real escape attempt, the film follows American Colonel Joseph Ryan as he leads 600 Allied prisoners in hijacking a German train through Nazi-occupied Italy. What starts as a standard prison break becomes a high-speed chase across the Italian countryside, with Sinatra's character making increasingly brutal decisions to save his men. The production was a nightmare, filming in actual Italian locations during scorching summer heat, with Sinatra reportedly drinking heavily between takes and clashing with director Mark Robson. But the tension on set translated perfectly to screen, creating one of the most claustrophobic war films ever made. The film's most shocking moment comes in the final act, when Sinatra's character is gunned down just yards from safety. Test audiences hated the ending so much that studio executives considered reshooting it. They kept it anyway, and critics praised the film's refusal to give audiences the happy ending they expected. Box office success followed controversy, with the film earning $17 million against a $5.5 million budget and proving that Sinatra could carry an action film without a single song. 13th Battle of the Bulge, 1965. Henry Fonda and Robert Shaw face off in the Ardennes in this epic recreation of Hitler's last desperate gamble. With a budget of $6.5 million, the film featured more tanks than some actual armies. The production borrowed so much military equipment from European NATO forces that it caused diplomatic tensions. The real controversy erupted when former Supreme Allied Commander Dwight Eisenhower came out of retirement to publicly condemn the film's historical inaccuracies. Ike was so furious about the portrayal of American forces that he held a press conference calling it historically incorrect. But audiences didn't care about Eisenhower's nitpicking. They wanted spectacular tank battles, and director Ken Anakin delivered with massive Panavision set pieces that made every theater screen feel like a battlefield. The film's secret weapon was its German perspective, with Robert Shaw's Panzer commander portrayed as a brilliant tactician rather than a cartoon villain. Shaw based his performance on actual Wehrmacht interviews, bringing nuance to a role that could have been pure propaganda. Critics slammed it for being more spectacle than substance, but the film grossed $11.1 million and inspired countless imitators. The irony? Despite Eisenhower's complaints, many of the film's inaccuracies were actually dramatic license taken from real events that seemed too incredible for audiences to believe. 12. The Heroes of Telmark, 1965. Kirk Douglas goes full commando in this Norwegian resistance thriller, based on one of WM2's most daring sabotage missions. The film dramatizes the real-life operation to destroy Nazi Germany's heavy water production at the Vemork plant, crucial to their atomic bomb program. What makes this film special isn't just Douglas's intense performance, but the fact that they shot on location in the actual Norwegian mountains where the operation took place. The production faced brutal conditions, with temperatures dropping to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit and crew members suffering frostbite during the famous ski chase sequences. Douglas, at 49, insisted on performing his own ski stunts despite being a mediocre skier. He nearly died during one downhill sequence when he lost control and crashed into a tree. The film's technical advisor was Joachim Runeberg, the actual leader of the Telemark raid, who complained that Hollywood made everything too glamorous. In reality, the saboteurs survived on reindeer moss and melted snow for weeks. Critics praised the film's authenticity, with the New York Times calling it the most realistic portrayal of resistance operations ever filmed. The movie earned $4.2 million at the box office and introduced American audiences to the largely unknown story of Scandinavian resistance fighters who arguably prevented Nazi Germany from developing nuclear weapons first. 11. The Train, 1964. Burt Lancaster muscles his way through occupied France in this underground masterpiece about art, resistance, and moral complexity. The film follows French railway inspector Paul Labiche as he attempts to prevent Nazi Colonel von Waldheim from shipping stolen masterpieces to Germany aboard an armored train. What sets this apart from typical war films is its intellectual weight. Screenwriter Franklin Cohn based the script on real art theft operations, and the film questions whether paintings are worth human lives. Lancaster, who also produced, insisted on practical effects over miniatures, resulting in some of the most spectacular train sequences ever filmed. The production destroyed 6 real locomotives and derailed dozens of train cars, making it one of the most expensive action films of the decade at $6.7 million. Lancaster performed many of his own stunts, including a dangerous sequence where he leaps between moving train cars. At age 51, he dislocated his shoulder, but finished the scene anyway. Critics initially found the film too cerebral for an action movie, but director John Frankenheimer's taut direction earned praise from European critics who appreciated its anti-war message. The film's climax, featuring a spectacular train crash filmed with multiple cameras, took 6 weeks to plan and execute. Box office was modest at $4.1 million domestic, but the film gained cult status among cinephiles who recognized its sophisticated approach to wartime moral dilemmas. 10. The Sand Pebbles, 1966. Steve McQueen trades motorcycles for gunboats in this epic drama about American sailors caught in China's Civil War. Running 196 minutes, the film follows machinist mate Jake Holman aboard the USS San Pablo as political tensions explode around them in 1926 China. What makes this film remarkable is its unflinching portrayal of American imperialism, rare for 1960s Hollywood. McQueen's character is a mechanical genius who just wants to keep the ship running, but he's forced to confront the violent reality of America's presence in Asia. The production was notorious for its grueling shooting schedule in Taiwan and Hong Kong, where temperatures reached 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and McQueen repeatedly clashed with director Robert Wise. The film's most shocking sequence involves the torture and execution of Chinese civilians, filmed with documentary-style realism that horrified test audiences. McQueen based his performance on interviews with actual Navy veterans of the China Station, and his portrayal of a conflicted sailor earned him his only Oscar nomination. The film cost $12 million and grossed $13.2 million, but its real impact came later, as Vietnam War protests intensified, and audiences recognized parallels between China in the 1920s and Southeast Asia in the 1960s. Critics praised McQueen's dramatic range, with Pauline Kael writing that he transcends his usual screen persona to create something genuinely moving. The film's final battle sequence, featuring the destruction of a Chinese village, remains one of the most powerful anti-war statements in American cinema. 9. Ice Station Zebra, 1968. Rock Hudson and Ernest Borgnine take Cold War paranoia underwater in this submarine thriller based on Alistair MacLean's best-selling novel. The film follows the USS Tigerfish as it races to the Arctic to recover a satellite containing crucial intelligence before the Soviets can reach it. Director John Sturges, fresh off The Great Escape, crafted a claustrophobic masterpiece that plays like an underwater espionage thriller. The production built a full-scale submarine interior on a soundstage, complete with working periscopes and torpedo tubes. The attention to detail was so precise that actual Navy submariners visited the set and praised its authenticity. Hudson, known primarily for romantic comedies, delivers his finest dramatic performance as the submarine commander who suspects one of his crew is a Soviet agent. The film's $8 million budget included extensive underwater photography that required divers to work in near-freezing water for weeks. Critics praised the film's technical achievements and tense atmosphere, with Roger Ebert calling it a superior thriller that succeeds despite its Cold War cliches. The film grossed $13 million and became a favorite of Howard Hughes, who reportedly watched it hundreds of times during his reclusive final years. The real genius is MacLean's plot, which keeps audiences guessing about loyalties until the final reel. The revelation of the Soviet agent's identity shocked contemporary audiences who thought they had figured out the mystery. Box office success led to more MacLean adaptations, but none matched the paranoid intensity of this submarine classic. 8. King Rat, 1965. George Segal rules the roost in this gritty POW drama that exposed the dark side of survival in Japanese prison camps. Based on James Clavell's semi-autobiographical novel, the film follows American Corporal King as he builds a black market empire inside Changi Prison in Singapore. What makes this film brutal is its unflinching portrayal of how desperation corrupts good men. King manipulates starving prisoners for profit while maintaining an all-American charm. Segal's performance is magnetic and disturbing, showing how survival instincts can override moral constraints. Director Brian Forbes shot on location in Hollywood sound stages designed to recreate the claustrophobic conditions of actual POW camps, with actors losing weight throughout production to show the effects of starvation. The film's most shocking scene involves the murder of a prison camp rat. Audiences were horrified to learn it was filmed using an actual dead rat, though no animals were harmed during production. Critics praised the film's psychological complexity, with The New York Times calling it a searing examination of human nature under extreme duress. The film earned $2.8 million at the box office, modest by Hollywood standards, but enough to establish Segal as a serious dramatic actor. The real controversy came from veterans groups who complained that the film portrayed American POWs as morally compromised. Clavell defended his story as an honest portrayal of camp life based on his own experiences as a prisoner. The film's ending, where King loses his power as liberation approaches, remains one of cinema's most effective character studies of corruption and redemption. 7. Zulu, 1964. Michael Caine's breakout role comes drenched in blood at Rorke's Drift, where 150 British soldiers held off 4,000 Zulu warriors in 1879. While technically a Victorian colonial war rather than World War II, this film revolutionized how war movies portrayed indigenous peoples and imperial conflicts. The film's most shocking element was its sympathetic portrayal of Zulu warriors, unprecedented for 1960s cinema. Director Cy Enfield shot on location in South Africa using actual Zulu descendants, including Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who played his own great-grandfather. The battle sequences were choreographed with Zulu military historians to ensure authenticity, and the film's depiction of Zulu military tactics was praised by anthropologists. Caine, in his first major role, based his aristocratic officer on interviews with retired colonial veterans, bringing complexity to what could have been a simple heroic role. The production faced constant challenges, from extreme heat to language barriers, but the result was a $3 million epic that grossed $7.2 million worldwide. Critics initially struggled with the film's colonial themes, but recognized its technical excellence and powerful performances. The film's most famous sequence, the Zulu army singing war chants while advancing, was suggested by Zulu consultants who wanted to show their ancestors' courage and dignity. Modern audiences recognize the film as a turning point in war cinema, acknowledging both British military heroism and Zulu tactical brilliance without resorting to racist stereotypes common in earlier colonial films. 6. Hell in the Pacific, 1968. Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune wage personal war on a deserted Pacific island in this minimalist masterpiece with almost no dialogue. Director John Boorman stripped war movies down to their brutal essence: two enemy soldiers who must choose between killing each other or working together to survive. The entire film features just two actors, with Marvin's American pilot and Mifune's Japanese naval officer communicating through gestures, expressions, and raw survival instinct. Filmed on location in Palau, the production was a logistical nightmare that required transporting equipment to remote Pacific islands by seaplane. Marvin and Mifune performed their own stunts, including dangerous sequences involving makeshift rafts and cliff diving. The film's power comes from its refusal to offer easy answers. Both men are warriors shaped by their cultures, and their tentative friendship is constantly threatened by ingrained hostility. Critics were divided, with some calling it pretentious art house nonsense, while others praised its profound meditation on the futility of war. The film's $3.2 million budget was modest, but its $4.8 million gross proved audiences were hungry for intelligent war films. The most controversial element was Boorman's decision to shoot two different endings: one where the soldiers kill each other, another where they escape together. The ambiguous final version leaves their fate uncertain, forcing audiences to confront their own assumptions about honor, duty, and human nature. The film's influence on later war movies, particularly those dealing with Vietnam, cannot be overstated. Fifth Battle of Britain, 1969. Guy Hamilton directs the most expensive air battle ever filmed, with a cast that includes Michael Caine, Christopher Plummer, and Laurence Olivier, defending Britain's skies from the Luftwaffe. The film's greatest achievement was assembling the largest collection of authentic World War II aircraft since the actual battle. The production owned 109 vintage fighters and bombers, making it temporarily the 35th largest air force in the world. The $12 million budget included purchasing and restoring dozens of Spitfires, Hurricanes, and German fighters from private collectors and aviation museums worldwide. The aerial sequences, filmed without CGI or miniatures, remain the most spectacular dogfight footage ever captured on film. Director Hamilton, a former naval officer, insisted on tactical accuracy, working with RAF veterans who flew in the actual Battle of Britain. The film's most emotional moments come from its portrayal of young pilots facing near certain death, with British stoicism. Many actors were sons of actual Battle of Britain pilots. Critics praised the film's technical achievements while noting its episodic structure, with the Times calling it magnificent spectacle hampered by weak characters. The film grossed $7.3 million worldwide, but its real legacy is its influence on aviation filmmaking. Every subsequent air combat movie owes a debt to Hamilton's practical effects mastery. The production's commitment to authenticity extended to using actual RAF airfields as locations, with pilots who flew in the battle serving as technical advisors. The film's most powerful moment shows a downed German pilot being treated with dignity by British civilians, a rare acknowledgement of shared humanity amid total war. 4. Where Eagles Dare, 1968. Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood infiltrate a Nazi castle in the Alps in this action-packed thriller that redefined the men-on-a-mission genre. Written by Alistair MacLean, specifically as a screenplay, the film follows British agents attempting to rescue an American general from an impregnable mountaintop fortress. What makes this film legendary is its relentless action. Eastwood's character kills approximately 74 German soldiers, earning him the nickname The Machine among crew members. Burton, desperate for a box office hit after several flops, delivers his most physical performance as Major Smith, a British officer with hidden agendas and multiple identities. The film's budget of $7.7 million was justified by spectacular alpine locations, with filming at the actual Schloss Hohenwerfen Castle in Austria. The production faced brutal winter conditions, with temperatures dropping to -20 degrees Fahrenheit, and crew members suffering altitude sickness during mountain sequences. McClane's script is a masterclass in twists and reveals. Every character has secret loyalties, and the rescue mission isn't what it appears to be. Critics initially dismissed it as mindless action, but audiences made it a massive hit, grossing $21.3 million worldwide. The film's most famous sequence, Burton and Eastwood escaping via cable car, was filmed using actual Alpine transportation systems, with both actors performing their own stunts despite studio insurance concerns. The movie's influence on action cinema is immeasurable, inspiring everything from James Bond films to modern-day Mission Impossible franchises. Burton later called it his most enjoyable film experience, despite initial doubts about making an escapist adventure. 3. The Great Escape, 1963. Steve McQueen's motorcycle chase into cinema immortality anchors this POW masterpiece based on the true story of the largest prison break in World War II history. Director John Sturges assembled an all-star cast, including James Garner, Charles Bronson, and Richard Attenborough, to recreate the mass escape from Stalag Luft III that captivated the world. The film's $4 million budget created an authentic German prison camp on a Bavarian soundstage, with former POWs serving as technical advisors to ensure accuracy. McQueen's Cooler King character became iconic, but the film's real achievement is its ensemble storytelling. Each prisoner has a specialized skill, from forging documents to digging tunnels. The famous motorcycle chase was performed by McQueen's friend Bud Ekins. Though McQueen did most of his own writing throughout the film, critics praised the film's balance of humor and tragedy, recognizing that the real escape ended with 50 prisoners executed by the Gestapo. The film grossed $11.7 million against its $4 million budget, making it one of 1963's biggest hits. Elmer Bernstein's stirring score became one of cinema's most recognizable themes, perfectly capturing the prisoner's defiant spirit. The film's most powerful element is its refusal to sanitize the story. While the escape scenes are thrilling, the consequences are devastating. Modern audiences often forget that only 3 of the 76 real escapees made it to freedom, with the film's tragic ending serving as a sobering reminder of the war's human cost. The movie's influence on subsequent prison break films and action movies cannot be overstated. 2. Lawrence of Arabia, 1962. David Lean's desert epic transforms T.E. Lawrence into a conflicted anti-hero in this 222-minute masterpiece that redefined biographical filmmaking. Peter O'Toole's career-making performance captures Lawrence's psychological complexity. A cultured British officer who adopts Arab customs and leads guerrilla warfare against the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The film's $15 million budget created unprecedented scope, with Lean shooting in actual Middle Eastern locations, including Jordan, Morocco, and Spain. The production required coordinating with multiple governments and managing a crew of over 1,000 people across hostile desert environments. O'Toole's Lawrence is neither heroic saint nor imperial villain. He's a man torn between cultures, sexually ambiguous, and psychologically damaged by violence and betrayal. The film's most famous shot, Omar Sharif emerging from a mirage, required weeks of planning and created one of cinema's most iconic images. Critics initially struggled with the film's length and moral ambiguity, but it swept the Academy Awards with 7 wins, including Best Picture. The film grossed $42.2 million worldwide, making it the 3rd highest-grossing film of 1962. Lean's direction emphasizes the desert's beauty and brutality, using the landscape as both character and metaphor. The film's portrayal of Arab culture was revolutionary for its time, avoiding Orientalist stereotypes while acknowledging the complexity of Arab nationalism. O'Toole's performance earned him the first of 8 Oscar nominations, establishing him as one of cinema's greatest actors. The film's influence on epic filmmaking is immeasurable, inspiring directors from Steven Spielberg to George Lucas. 1. The Dirty Dozen, 1967. Lee Marvin leads 12 military convicts on a suicide mission in this violent, controversial masterpiece that changed war movies forever. Director Robert Aldrich assembled an incredible cast, including Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, John Cassavetes, and Telly Savalas, as criminals recruited for a pre-D-Day assassination mission against Nazi officers. The film's $5.4 million budget earned theatrical rentals of $24.2 million, making it the fourth highest-grossing film of 1967 and MGM's biggest hit of the year. What made this film shocking was its moral complexity. The heroes are rapists, murderers, and psychopaths who are barely more civilized than their Nazi targets. Aldrich's direction refuses to glorify violence, showing war as a brutal business where survival matters more than honor. The film's training sequences build character relationships, while the climactic chateau assault delivers spectacular action without traditional heroics. Critics were divided by the film's violence, with Roger Ebert writing sarcastically about its burning of human bodies, while others praised its unflinching realism. The film's most controversial element was its timing. Released during Vietnam War protests, it questioned American military heroism when audiences needed reassurance. Marvin's performance as Major Reisman anchors the film with world-weary authority, showing a career soldier who understands that winning wars requires doing terrible things. The film spawned numerous imitators and sequels, but none matched the original's perfect balance of action and moral ambiguity. Modern viewers recognize it as a turning point in war cinema, when Hollywood began acknowledging that the good guys weren't always good, and victory came at a devastating price. So there you have it, 15 films that proved the 1960s were the ultimate decade for World War II cinema. These weren't sanitized propaganda pieces or simple good versus evil adventures. They were complex, violent, morally ambiguous masterpieces that dared to ask uncomfortable questions about heroism, survival, and the true cost of victory. From The Dirty Dozen's criminal soldiers to Lawrence of Arabia's conflicted anti-hero, these films showed us that war isn't glorious. It's messy, brutal, and transforms everyone it touches. Which of these films shocked you the most? Did we miss any 1960s World War II classics that deserve recognition? And here's the real question that'll start a war in the comments. Are these morally complex 60s war films better than today's CGI-heavy blockbusters? Or do modern audiences need clearer heroes and villains to root for? Drop your takes below and prepare for battle.